Hey everyone, this is Michael again, and welcome to my Monday Night Raw review. And tonight's Raw was from the Golden One Center in Sacramento, California. And if you guys haven't checked out my previous video that I uploaded earlier, I reviewed last night's TLC pay-per-view. So if you guys haven't checked out the review, definitely go check it out. And tonight's Raw, they've been, hyping up this Raw, over the weekend, saying Vince McMahon is coming, to shake things up with Monday Night Raw. They're gonna, this is gonna be a new direction for Monday Night Raw and, WWE in general. But all we got was the same old shit. WWE dropped the ball big time on this, and all in all, Raw tonight it was terrible. It was a terrible show. So the show opened up with Vince McMahon coming out, and all he got from the Sacramento crowd was cheers when he deserves boos by how he's making this show terrible every single week and making these shows worse and worse and worse. He shouldn't even deserve cheers. I only saw one person in the crowd that was booing him, that was booing Vince, and that shows, a true fan right there. And while everybody else was bowing down to him, doing this and cheering for him, he doesn't deserve any of that, because of how he's making these shows worse week in and week out every single week. And then Vince comes in the ring and says, "Oh, I don't want to hear any boos." Well, and then the crowd booed him, which he deserves. He deserves that. And he says, what's everyone wants to know what's going on with Monday Night Raw. And he goes on to say Raw has been on for 25 years, and one of the successes is it changes with the times. Yeah, when was the last time we saw a change with Raw? When was the last time? Was that when Monday Night Raw went 3 hours back in 2012? Was that the change? What was that the last time changes were made to Raw? Seems like it. And there hasn't been a change since. And Vince goes on to say, despite one man's brilliance and creativity, and vision, and he was like, he can't do it all by himself no more. And he says he can do it without the fans. And so out came Stephanie McMahon. She ended up coming down. Then Triple H ended up coming out. I was like, okay, Triple H is here. This might be good. And so Shane McMahon ended up coming out also. So he had the entire McMahon family in the ring tonight. And so Stephanie says they are out tonight because they haven't been doing a good job lately with Raw. Gee, I might as well. Gee, we all know that already. And she goes on to say, oh, we have to listen to our audience. Yeah, WWE doesn't even listen to its fans. They don't give a shit. And they're like, they are going to change tonight. Yeah, get onto that. I'll get onto that. So that's what Stephanie says. That's what Stephanie said. They are going to change tonight and off to a fresh start. Yeah, I'll get to that. I'll get to that soon. And Triple H says the four of them will be taking back Monday Night Raw. And it goes for SmackDown as well as what Shane said. And for the fans, he also says for the fans to have the best experience there is. So that's all what Shane said. And Triple H says they are going to give what, they are going to give what, we want. Something new, something fresh. And we'll be seeing new faces, new superstars, new matches. And he says the fans are the new authority. And then we have Vince go, WWE will be then, now, and forever. So that was that. And then Baron Corbin comes out, says to Vince that no one is excited for a fresh start than him. And then it goes to commercial. Wait. Oh, Stephanie said, well, yeah, I'll get to that, though, because it didn't go to a commercial right here. But Stephanie says the crowd is booing really loud because the crowd was booing the hell out of Corbin. And Corbin says he is excited the entire McMahon family is running Raw. And he says there is one word that they didn't mention, which that word was fair. And he goes on to say what went on last night to him was not fair. And so they end up going to commercial for that was weird how it went to commercial right there. And then when it came back from commercial, we heard the crowd was still booing Corbin. And Triple H says to the crowd, oh, listen to what Corbin has to say, because, as Corbin tried to speak, the crowd was booing him. They were booing him so loudly. This was just like that crowd when they booed Roman on Raw, on the Raw after WrestleMania 33 of last year. That's how loud the boos were from the crowd tonight. So Corbin got the Roman Reigns treatment after Roman got, like I said, the Raw after WrestleMania 33. And he says he has been trying to motivate superstars. Corbin says he has been trying to motivate superstars, and Braun Strowman wasn't supposed to be at TLC last night. And Corbin goes on to say that he wasn't prepared. And he wasn't prepared for the guys Strowman brought with him. And Triple H says to Corbin that he is out for him, that it was unfair. And so Corbin was like begging the McMahons to reconsider his position as general manager of Raw. And so the McMahon family end up, huddling, and they all say no to Corbin. And Vince, came to mind and said, unless there might be a way. And so Triple H says maybe Corbin deserves a chance at being the general manager of Raw. And so Triple H says, oh, let's give Corbin a chance. And if he can win his match. So basically Triple H ended up putting Corbin in a match. And he put him in a match against Kurt Angle. And so Kurt Angle ends up coming out. So he has to take on Triple H. And Stephanie says there will be a special guest referee. That special guest referee is Heath Slater. And so the match got underway. It was at first Baron Corbin and Kurt Angle. Sorry about that, but I was saying it was Baron Corbin and Kurt Angle going at it. And then Triple H ends up coming down, in the match. And he then makes the match a handicap match. And so we see Bobby Roode and Chad Gable and Apollo Crews come out. And they beat down on Corbin. And, they came out with chairs. I'll get to that, though. But Shane ends up coming out. later on in the match and says he made the match now a no disqualification match. And so Heath Slater ended up beating down on Corbin. And just like last night at TLC, everyone was attacking Corbin with a chair. They were just hitting chair shots to Corbin. And so it was basically the same shit that we saw last night at TLC, minus Braun Strowman. So then, Kurt Angle ended up winning the match because he ended up hitting the angle slam on Baron Corbin. So Kurt Angle, Bobby Roode, Chad Gable, and Apollo Crews win the match. And after the match, we saw it was Chad Gable, Bobby Roode, and Apollo Crews. They ended up coming with a table, and they ended up sending it in the ring. And then we saw Kurt Angle end up hitting the angle slam once again on Baron Corbin, driving Corbin through the table. So that's basically what happened. It was the same old shit from what we saw last night, minus Braun Strowman and minus Corbin going through the table. So I'm like, what change? What change is happening? There's nothing. No change. Then we had Finn Balor versus Dolph Ziggler. This was, we saw this match, like a month ago. So it was, decent match. It was back and forth between Balor and Dolph. And, towards like the end of the match, Drew McIntyre ended up coming down. And we saw, Dolph trying to take down McIntyre, and Balor also leapt and took out McIntyre. But the match ended in a disqualification because McIntyre ended up coming in. He ended up beating up on Dolph. And then we saw McIntyre end up hitting 2 Claymore kicks. One to Dolph and one to Balor. And that was that. Match ended in a disqualification. So, but all in all, decent match. But we saw Balor and Dolph go at it like a month ago. Then we saw Dean Ambrose coming out, and he was saying to the crowd, he came out with his gas mask SWAT goons. Which looked like Bane. So he ends up coming out, and he ends up saying to the crowd that they should bow down to him. And he goes on to say that everything he said about what he was going to do at TLC was true. And he ends up saying Seth Rollins ended up failing. Ambrose goes on to say that he took the most important thing in Seth's life. And he's just getting started. And he says that Seth will have nothing left. Ambrose says he's going to take Seth's career and throw it in the gutter where it belongs. He says he is the moral compass in WWE. And he has the obligation to let Seth come out and tell him that he was right. And and Seth tell Ambrose that he was right. So Dean says to Seth, how about we have an open challenge for Seth to take out his anger on Dean. And Seth doesn't come out, and I knew right then from there Seth was going to be one of Dean's gas mask SWAT guys. And so Dean ends up saying Seth is not no hero and that he is a selfish whiner. He says Seth lost the Intercontinental title last night at TLC and he won't come out to show his face. And Dean ends up saying he's going to have a open challenge for the Intercontinental Championship for anyone that is not Seth Rollins. So, who came out to challenge Dean for the Intercontinental title? None other than Tyler Breeze. Yes, Tyler Breeze end up responding to the challenge, and Tyler Breeze hasn't been used on Raw in a while. And last Wednesday on NXT, he went back there. He ended up challenging Ricochet, which that was a good match. That was a really good match between the both of them. So Dean Ambrose versus Tyler Breeze for the an open challenge for the Intercontinental Championship. This was a decent match. It's back and forth. But what does this match do for Tyler Breeze? Pretty much nothing. So Dean Ambrose ended up getting the win. Ended up hitting dirty deeds to Tyler Breeze to score the win. So Dean Ambrose still retains the Intercontinental Championship. Then after the match, Ambrose says Seth wouldn't show his face tonight. And he gets cut off by Seth's music. And Seth Rollins end up coming from behind, of course dressed as one of Ambrose's SWAT gas mask goons. And he then attacked Dean Ambrose. He ended up taking down Ambrose's goons. And he just kicked Ambrose. And pretty much that was it. So, but all in all, the open challenge for the Intercontinental Championship, is a decent match, but did nothing for Tyler Breeze. Then we had Charlie Caruso interviewing Shane McMahon. Shane ends up telling Caruso that there will be lots of new faces and stars, from Raw and SmackDown, and that they will get opportunities. And so Drake Maverick and AOP end up coming. And so Drake Maverick, wants, tells Shane that, he wants AOP to have a rematch for the Raw Tag Team Championships to get their rematch clause. So he ends up telling Shane to make a decision for them. And Shane ends up telling Maverick that Corbin gave AOP the tag team titles. And Shane says they will have the opportunity to take on, AOP will have the opportunity to take on the Revival, Lucha House Party, and the B Team in a fatal 4-way. And whoever wins will have the opportunity to have a match for the Raw Tag Team Championships. So, that was that. And then we had Bobby Lashley, Lio Rush. They were in the ring. They were mimicking Elias. And Leo ends up saying, we are given a performance like never before. And the greatest music that Elias has heard is hearing the guitar crack, thanks to the almighty Bobby Lashley, which on the Titantron they showed a freeze frame of when Lashley ended up hitting Elias with the guitar, from TLC last night. And Leo says no one came here to listen to Elias play another boring song, and that the crowd came to listen to a song Lashley has to play. And so Lio Rush ends up, trashing. He said he was trashing something about the Sacramento Kings, because they were in Sacramento, of course, tonight. And then Leo was like, "Oh, hey, Lashley, show the people, what you always show them." So the whole famous Lashley flexing, showing his ass, that we don't need to see his ass up all in our faces. And Elias is in the ring because JoJo got on the mic and said, "Ladies and gentlemen, Elias." And then showed Elias behind Bobby Lashley. Elias had the guitar, and he ended up breaking the guitar to Lashley's back. And so that's how the segment ended. But it was a really boring segment. It was fucking boring. Then we had the Fatal 4-Way match. The Revival versus Lucha House Party. And the B Team. And AOP. And this match itself, it was okay. Wasn't great or perfect by any means, though. But it was kind of predictable because Scott Dawson, Dash Wilder, the Revival, they ended up picking up the win. They ended up hitting but I was saying that Scott Dawson and Dash Wilder, the Revival, they ended up winning the match. They ended up hitting the Shatter Machine on Bo Dallas to score the win. So the Revival are now the #1 contenders to face Bobby Roode and Chad Gable for the Raw Tag Team Championships, which, it's predictable. We all knew that the Revival was going to get a shot some way. So, but hopefully this is the Revival's chance on being the Raw Tag Team Champions. If they win and beat Gable and Roode. Otherwise, they're still going to be jobbers. WWE is still going to book them as jobbers. I really hope this is the Revival's chance because they deserve the titles. They deserve to hold them already. Just let the Revival have their chance at being the champions. They were NXT Tag Team Champions. So, but it's their time. WWE has to put the titles on them. Rightfully deserve it. And WWE also did a thing on Raw tonight where they announced superstars coming up to the main roster. And one that they've been promoting for weeks now is Lars Sullivan. Like a few NXT possible call-ups. And they've been hinting at Lars Sullivan to debut soon. And Lars Sullivan's one of my favorites down in NXT. He's a good wrestler. He's good in the ring. So I really hope WWE gives him a good push on the main roster and not bury him. Because he's a talented guy, Lars Sullivan. Then they showed EC3 making his main roster debut in the coming soon to these superstars coming to WWE soon to the main roster. EC3, like I mentioned, that they hinted. Lacey Evans, I like Lacey Evans. She's a good wrestler in the ring. I love her. I love her gimmick. She's talented. She's very talented, Lacey Evans. And I enjoy her matches in NXT. So, but overall, very happy that Lacey Evans was mentioned. Then he had Heavy Machinery, Otis Dosovic, and Tucker Knight. They're a very entertaining tag team in NXT. Very good. Both of them are good in the ring. I would like to see them succeed on the main roster, and hopefully WWE doesn't bury them. And Nikki Cross was another one that they mentioned. Even though that appearance that Nikki Cross made on SmackDown when they were, in the UK overseas, that was a one-off. So I guess now she's going to be making her main roster debut sometime soon. And there was rumors going around saying that WWE wants to bring the Velveteen Dream to the main roster, and her room is Shayna Baszler, but they weren't mentioned in this video showing superstars coming up to the main roster. But those are the names: Lars Sullivan, Lacey Evans, EC3, Heavy Machinery, Lacey Evans, and Nikki Cross. Those were the only ones who were mentioned in the video. And then we had promos for returning superstars, coming back soon. We got promos for Sami Zayn returning soon, which that's awesome, and Kevin Owens. So both KO and Sami Zayn are going to be coming back soon. So that's cool. Then we had Charlie Caruso. She was interviewing Seth Rollins, about what transpired at TLC. Seth goes on to say that it was a disaster last night, and for him, everything went wrong. And he let Dean Ambrose get in his head, and which led to Dean winning the Intercontinental Championship. He says he's going to ride the ship and end Dean Ambrose. And so then we see Corbin there, and Corbin says to Seth that he was doing Corbin was doing a good job as general manager, and that Seth is the reason why he is not general manager no more. He's the reason why he was put in the TLC match against him last week, and that Seth is the reason why the McMahons turned against him. And then Seth was like, "Oh, Corbin." And we saw Seth just end up striking Corbin, knocking him down. And so next week, we're going to get another rematch between Seth Rollins and Baron Corbin. Like I said, there was supposed to be a change tonight. This ain't no change. Same old shit. WWE suckered you in and tricked you into thinking that there was going to be a change, when really there is no change. The only change that is if Vince McMahon retires and gives Triple H, the lead, part of the company, to make Triple H make the shows better, just like how Triple H, makes NXT right. Give creative control to Triple H. That's all. That's when the change is going to happen. When Vince McMahon steps down or passes away. That's when change is going to happen for WWE and for the main roster. Excuse me. And then we had Ronda Rousey end up coming out and says she told Nia Jax that she can kiss that right hand she likes goodbye. And she told Charlotte that she was going to write the next chapter of their rivalry. Of course, Charlotte and Ronda, their rivalry is not done yet. And Ronda also said that she told Becky that she is not someone to provoke. And she says she came here to define what a real champion is. She goes on to talk about what a real champion means and what a real champion does. And Ronda issues a open challenge to anyone for her title. And it showed the woman in the back, like we saw Natalya, Sasha, Dana Brooke, Bayley, and the Riot Squad, all there, and Amber Moon. And Stephanie was like, "Oh, stop this right now. Come with me." And so Stephanie leads the woman on the stage. They stop, they're all out on the stage. And Stephanie says these women are deserving a shot. She ends up telling Ronda that these women deserve a shot. And Stephanie says they are giving these women an opportunity for the title by making a 8-woman gauntlet match. And this was pretty much the main event for Raw tonight. An 8-woman gauntlet match. And it kicked off with Alicia Fox versus Bayley. And so that was that. Alicia Fox versus Bayley. Bayley ended up winning, of course. Then it was Bayley versus Dana Brooke. Bayley ended up pinning the Bayley to belly on Dana Brooke to score the win. Then it was Mickie James versus Bayley. Mickie James ended up winning. And, you got to give props to Bayley for lasting in that match for like 25 minutes. Bayley was in that match for like 25 minutes. So you gotta give props to Bayley for that. I mean, she lasted that long in this match, in this gauntlet match. And then we had Amber Moon versus Mickie James. After Mickie James eliminated Bayley, Amber Moon ended up coming out and challenging Mickie James. And so we had Amber Moon and Mickie James go at it. Amber Moon ended up hitting the Eclipse to Mickie James. And then we had Natalya versus Amber Moon. So that was pretty cool. Natalya ended up winning the match. Ended up rolling up Amber Moon. And just this women's gauntlet match, it was just really dragging. It was not that great. It was not that great of a match. It was just a drag to sit through. And then we had Natalya versus Ruby Riott. Of course, a rematch from last night, but minus a table. So Natalya ended up beating Ruby Riott once again, just like last night, minus a table. Minus it being a table match. Then Natalya versus Sasha Banks, which was really awesome. The match ended up picking up there when Sasha got in the ring and her and Natalya went at it. And Sasha was, doing her best to try to win the match. She was putting Natalya in the bank statement. And, there was reversals. But Natalya ended up getting the win. And she ended up winning the gauntlet match. She ended up blocking in the sharpshooter on Sasha. Sasha ended up tapping out. And so Natalya wins the women's gauntlet match. She gets to face Ronda next week for the Raw Women's Championship. So yeah, so next week's Raw it's gonna be a taped show because after Raw went off the air tonight, from what I heard, after it went off the air, they're filming next week. They're filming next week's show for Raw, which is going to be taped. The next 2 weeks on Christmas Eve, next Monday, and New Year's Eve, Raw is going to be taped. So there's not going to be any live Raws. There's not going to be another live Raw until January. I think it's on January. Let me see here. I'm getting up the calendar. Where is it? Come on. Sorry about that, but there's going to be no live Raw until January 7th. January 7th is going to be the next time Raw is going to be live. So for 2 weeks we're getting taped Raws, and wouldn't be surprised that it's going to be low ratings for those 2 weeks for Raw. I wouldn't be shocked if they hit like a 1.1 or a 1.0 for those 2 week shows on Christmas and New Year's. So yeah. So anyways, the Gauntlet match, dragged. It was a drag to sit through. And originally they said that that WWE had plans to turn Natalya heel. She was going to turn heel on Ronda, but eventually Natty's father, Jim the Anvil Neidhart, passed away, and those were put on hold. I guess we're going to have that. I guess WWE might do that next week. Maybe turn Natty heel on next week's Raw. Maybe they'll go through with it, but who knows? All I know, it's going to be a pretty entertaining match between Natalya and Ronda. So yes, anyways, that's it for my review of tonight's Monday Night Raw. Thank you all for watching. Hope you all enjoyed this video. And there will be no SmackDown review tomorrow night. I'm going to be working late. So the SmackDown review will possibly be up hopefully later this week. Maybe I'll review it on Sunday, but who knows. But maybe I'll do a SmackDown review. So, but who knows? I'll see what happens. So, yes. Anyways, thank you all for watching. Be sure to give this video a thumbs up, comment, subscribe, and until the next video, I'll see you all later. Bye.